obandesu. Every room she entered had already been cleaned, floors swept, surfaces dusted, windows cleared of overnight condensation. She was the only caretaker hired for the property. She started earlier each morning, trying to get ahead of whatever was working alongside her. She never managed it. Whatever was tending that house always finished first, always stayed just beyond where she was. Don't take any caretaking jobs in old rural properties tonight. It is time for Chapter 126. There is something deeply unsettling about arriving to do a job and finding it already done. Not done poorly, not done approximately, done well. Done with care and attention and the particular thoroughness of someone who knows the house intimately. Every surface she was responsible for already attended to. Every room she entered already maintained. By someone, something that moved through the house on a schedule that ran consistently ahead of hers, no matter how early she started. No matter which room she tried first. Whatever else was caring for that house had always just been there, and had always just left, leaving behind only the evidence of careful work, and the particular stillness of a room that has recently been occupied by something she had never managed to see. A woman in her 40s took a temporary position as caretaker of a large rural property while the owners spent 6 months abroad. The house was old, well maintained. The owners had left detailed instructions about what needed to be done and when. She settled in on the first day without difficulty. The house had a particular quality of age and care that she found genuinely pleasant. She began her duties on the second morning, worked through the ground floor systematically, everything as expected. On the third morning she went to begin in the main reception room, and found it already done, floors swept, surfaces dusted, the particular arrangement of objects on the mantel exactly as the owner's instructions specified. She assumed she had done it herself and forgotten. She was certain she had not. She tested it on the fourth morning, left one room deliberately unfinished the previous evening, a surface undusted, a floor unswept, a clear marker of something left undone. She locked the room and kept the key. In the morning she unlocked it. The surface was dusted, the floor swept, the room finished with the same careful attention as everything else in the house. The locked door had not been disturbed. The key had not left her possession. She stood in the finished room and thought about this carefully, then went through the rest of the house, every room already attended to. She had not started work yet that morning. Whatever else was caring for the house had completed the entire ground floor before she had left her bedroom. If these stories have found their way to you, if you find yourself returning to this quiet room, there is something small you can do, like and subscribe. It tells me, and whatever else watches from this room, that you were here, and that you intend to find your way back. She began setting earlier alarms, 5 a.m., then 4 a.m., then 3:30. Each time she rose and began her rounds, she found the same thing, the house already attended to, always the entire ground floor finished before she reached it. She tried staying awake through the night, sitting in the main corridor with a view of the rooms that needed doing. Nothing moved, nothing happened. And yet, by the time exhaustion forced her back to her room, and she slept for 2 hours and woke and checked, the rooms were done. Whatever was working alongside her did not work while she was watching, only while she slept, or only in a way that her watching somehow failed to register. Shakkoi, that failure, cold in the way of understanding that something was sharing her working hours in a house she had thought she was alone in. I wonder, have you ever arrived somewhere to find work already done that only you were supposed to have done? A space already tended, an arrangement already maintained, by hands you could not account for? Perhaps you were not working alone and simply never knew it. Granny is always listening. She called the owners abroad, asked carefully whether anyone else had access to the property, anyone who might also be maintaining it. The owners said no. She was the only person with keys, the only person they had authorized. They asked if something was wrong. She said no. Everything was fine. The house was being very well looked after. This was true. It was being looked after more thoroughly than she could have managed alone, by whatever was working alongside her, just out of reach, just ahead of her in every room, with the intimate knowledge of the house that belongs to someone who has cared for it for a very long time. She found the owner's records near the end of her tenure, household accounts going back many decades, caretaking expenses recorded meticulously. She read through them out of curiosity one evening, found that the property had had a live-in caretaker for most of its history, a woman who had cared for the house alone for over 30 years, who had died in the house, in the small room off the kitchen that was now used for storage. The account book recorded her death simply, as a line item, staff concluded. She closed the account book and looked around the kitchen. At the surfaces she had not dusted that morning because they had already been done, and thought about 30 years of caring for a house, and what that kind of sustained devotion might leave behind in the rooms it had attended to. I think about what it means to care for a house for 30 years, to know every surface, every particular arrangement, every detail of how things should be, and the particular satisfaction of keeping them that way. This is not simply employment. It is a relationship between a person and a space, built over decades of daily attention. And I think that a relationship that's sustained and that devoted does not simply conclude because the person who maintained it is no longer there in the ordinary sense. They remain, in the particular way that people who have given 30 years of careful attention to something remain in it, still working, still maintaining, still moving through the rooms just ahead of whoever comes after them, with the thorough and quiet attention of someone who simply cannot leave a house they have cared for that completely. Duh. I understand that attachment more than most. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. If you take a caretaking position in an old rural property and you find on the third morning that the work has already been done, do not test it. Do not set earlier alarms or stay awake watching corridors or lock rooms with keys you keep by your bed. Simply let whoever is working alongside you continue. Adjust your schedule to the rooms they have not yet reached. Work together without meeting. Because whatever is maintaining that house was doing so before you arrived and will continue after you leave. It has 30 years of devoted attention invested in those surfaces and arrangements, and the work it does is good work. Careful work, done with the intimate knowledge of someone who knows every corner of a house they spent a lifetime caring for, and has not quite finished caring for it yet. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting. And if you wish others to find their way here too, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. I would not object.